Hi, everyone. I'm Louis Emery from senior counsel at Robert Wray, PLLC in Washington, D.C. And I'm absolutely delighted this morning to have the opportunity to have a chat with Rene Sagebien, who is the general counsel of JetZero. And for any of you in the aerospace and aviation sectors who have been living under a rock for the last few months, JetZero is sort of has made a very big splash in the aviation world with the sort of revolutionary change from sort of the idea of a wing and tube structure for an aircraft into blended wing, which has not it's not a new idea, but it's certainly found its time in the current state that we're in terms of aviation and green space and trying to do something about making our environment a better place for everyone. So, anyway, Rene is the general counsel of this company, and I'm sure is facing some very interesting challenges in this environment. So, we're just going to take it from there and see how things develop. So, generally, Rene, can you just give us some sort of background for you as a person and how you got to sort of where you are as an attorney and at JetZero?
Sure, and thanks for inviting me to do this, Louis. It's great to talk to you again. Um, I actually I had the great fortune of growing up in the U.S. Virgin Islands. So my father's a chemical engineer, and he helped design and build a large oil refinery on St. Croix. Um, so he and my mom moved to St. Croix in 1968. My mother was actually pregnant with me, and they didn't know it. And when they moved to the island, it was actually it's a beautiful island. It had a site for the refinery, and it had one single paved road. Everything else was a dirt road. Um, and it's a little bit analogous to what we're doing at JetZero, but they built from that beginning. They built that refinery into one of the world's largest, most efficient oil refineries. So I lived there with my brothers and sisters until I was 15. When I was 15, the family moved up to New Jersey, and my father moved up into an office position for Hess Oil, um, which which by the way he really loved being in his refinery. He did not like being in his office, but that's another story. Um, so I finished high school in the Princeton area. From there, I went to undergrad at a small school in Greenville called Furman University, and did I studied French, and I studied political science there. Um, no real career path yet. Um, but from there, I had the great fortune of joining an America's Cup team. So I was a crew member for America Cubed in San Diego, and we raced and won the America's Cup in 1992. And then from there, I had an opportunity to go to law school, and I applied to several law schools, took the LSAT, and I went to Hofstra University in Long Island. In Hofstra, we all know it's 3 years. The first year is just a learning by fire hose. But I'd always had my intention to use my law degree to get into international business, and that's been my focus really throughout my career. So I finished Hofstra, and I took the bar exams for New York and New Jersey simultaneously. And then I got my first job, actually, which is a little bit of a different path, but my first job was in the legal department for Honeywell. So I spent a year at Honeywell in Minneapolis. Um, Great company, great people. Um, and I sort of faced a fork in the road there, whether I wanted to be in business or whether I wanted to be in law. And I decided that I wanted to pursue law. That job at Honeywell was really kind of a clerkship. It was I would call it a temporary legal position, but it was very, very instructive. After Minneapolis, after working at Honeywell, I went down to Florida to take the Florida bar exam. And I received a call actually from one of my dad's colleagues at Hess. And Hess was beginning a new company called Hess Energy Trading Company. And they were in business really to trade swaps, oil derivatives based on crude, but they also traded physical crude. So I supported their growth, and I supported the trading desk. I learned the ISDA master agreement and how to negotiate that. So I did about 1,000 ISDAs, but I also learned about the business, and I learned a lot about the business. Really, not just on the derivative side, but on the physical side. So it was a great learning experience. From there, I stayed in finance and joined a smaller bank in New York called Republic National Bank that traded a lot of I wouldn't call it exotics, but they traded a lot of precious metals and a lot of financial instruments. So I kept on learning a lot about global finance. Then Republic was bought by HSBC, and I went on to work at a great place called General Re Financial Products. And General Re Financial Products really traded some very, very complex and interesting deals, and it was a great place to work. I worked in Rockefeller Center, and my office overlooked the Atlas right in front of St. Patrick's Cathedral. So it was a great place to work. But then 9/11 happened, and I was one of the only people that lived in Manhattan, so I actually had to go into the office every day by myself and make sure that that the office was safe. So it was a kind of a strange world to be in. By that point, I had met my now wife, and we decided to make the move to Florida. And in Florida, nobody was doing what I had done in New York, so I actually had to restart my career and go into really the main business of Miami, which is real estate. So in Miami, I learned kind of large scale real estate. I worked on a lot of the big high rises that you see now on the finance side, but I also learned a lot about construction loans, a lot about the business of real estate. So it was a great place. It was a great learning experience, but it wasn't really. I would say it wasn't really my passion. And after 2008, when all of my clients were either in finance or real estate, I had no work, so I got laid off. And I was fortunate to find a really good job at Visa, where I managed all of Visa's business in Latin America, and I worked there for about 4 years, and then for a little bit over a year, I was called in by a friend to act as a general counsel for a big developer, and that was a great experience as well. Then that project was over. Did a small startup that didn't work out, and then I basically took a very similar job at MasterCard and managed their what's called data and services for all of Latin America, and grew that business probably 5x on the revenue side. And then I got a call from Tom O'Leary, CEO of JetZero, asking me to join. So that's how I got to this space.
Wow, you talk about a map for a general counsel to have an incredibly broad background and exposure to so many important areas of what becomes sort of the lifeblood of what happens in a company. That's just amazing. It's a great story. So so you just got a call from did you know Tom O'Leary? Or why don't you tell us a bit about JetZero and sort of the primary players who are there?
Sure. So JetZero, JetZero is a company that we actually founded about 4 years ago. It was founded originally as a subsidiary of a design company, of aerospace engineering company called Design, DZYNE, and we spun the company out from there and created JetZero, and took all of the IP, and then and JetZero's commercial purpose, primary purpose, is to commercialize the blended wing body aircraft. So it's a technology that's really been around for 30 years. Our founder, Mark Page, was on the original team that designed the blended wing over 30 years ago, and Mark kept on iterating the design for 30 years, and finally he met Tom O'Leary. When Tom was working at another aerospace company. Tom actually hired him to help him design their airplane. Mark showed Tom what he had with the blended wing, and Tom realized that this was the future of aviation, and this was something that had to happen. So Tom, being the consummate founder, helped Mark found the company, and when Tom needed help, he reached out to me on the legal side. So Tom and I went to Furman University together. So I've known Tom since 1987, and we've been in touch since then. So when I got the call, initially I said, I have a very good job at MasterCard. I've got a young daughter, and there's no way I'm going to help you with this. This is crazy. And the very next day, I actually called him back and said, I'm in. What do you need? What do you need me to do? with clearance from my wife, of course.
Of course. Well, obviously, with the broad background you have, when you were sort of offered the role of general counsel in this sort of obviously groundbreaking aviation sort of design company, and how did you see your role as the general counsel? Did you see it as a purely legal role, or did you see yourself coming in with sort of a lot of other types of experiences and skill sets that you could bring to JetZero?
I mean, I have a legal license, and I have a lot of experience as a lawyer supporting businesses all over the world. So my strictly my responsibilities are on the legal side. I take care of every legal aspect for the company, and I've had very good experience in that sort of role. But I also know how companies work and how companies think. So when I talked to Tom about my role, I said, I want to be a very pro business, and I want to be part of the strategy for JetZero going forward. And Tom was very happy to have that. So that was sort of how the role was defined from the beginning, and I've been able to maintain that for the most part, which is great.
So again, coming into a company that is coming to the aviation world with an old idea that has been revamped and brought up to space in a time when it obviously is finally reaching its due point in terms of its need and what it brings. How do you see the challenges that you have working within that environment as the general counsel?
So as a general counsel, I think my I don't think I know my primary roles are to protect the business and to facilitate the business. So some of the biggest things that I work on are managing and making sure our IP portfolio is protected and is in robust shape for the company going forward. But my role has been hands-on. So from negotiating a security contract for our offices in Long Beach, to negotiating all of the financial contracts for Series A, to negotiating with our largest suppliers. That's been what my role has been. And it's been great because we have a very good team, and the team is able to define exactly what they want from in the business, and I'm able to translate that into contracts for the business. So that's been essentially my role so far.
So in reading the trade press, obviously the potential sort of marketplace and uses for this blended wing aircraft cross from the military, defense, obviously, because, you know, given the immediate role that JetZero has in terms of the NASA Air Force contract that you guys won to develop the operating model. But clearly, the commercial markets are very excited about the idea that this may be their answer to that mid-market aircraft everyone has been asking for the last 10 years. And then assuming that you've also got a product that has got the versatility to be able to be not only a passenger commercial aircraft, but a cargo commercial aircraft that spreads the sort of the marketplace and maybe the opportunities and the risks across a very broad sort of area. How do you, as the general counsel, sort of look at those potential, you know, risks, challenges, opportunities out there, and sort of figure out what you need to do in those various spaces?
It's it's an interesting place to be. It's three different markets, three different sorts of legal parameters and legal elements that you have to look at. You know, we're extremely fortunate that NASA and the Air Force are very supportive of us because they want to see this technology work, and they chose us as the company that had the best possibility of putting a BWV into the air. So we've had great support from the Air Force and from NASA. Those are different kinds of contracts. I'd had very little experience working in the government area before then. So negotiating and working with the Air Force and with NASA and with some other agencies in the government as well is a new experience for me. But it's been a great learning experience, and you know, I've been able to do that. You know, on the cargo side, cargo is the simplest of all three of the areas that we could enter into business. And our plane is fantastic for that. So, you know, we have a lot of interest from the big cargo companies, the big air cargo companies. But they're also, let's just say they love the idea, but they want to see the progress. And I think what's most exciting is the airlines from around the world are learning more and more about our airplane, and the more they learn, the more excited they get about it. So the commercial airlines are really supporting us, and one of the aspects, you know, they get excited about 50% reduction in fuel burn, but when they come see us at the hangar and they see what we can do with our unique space for passengers, they get super excited, and then they see how the airplane can perform not only in terms of flying, but turnaround times at airports. They get even more excited, and then the airports themselves get excited about the plane. So we're getting really good support on the commercial side, which was a crucial element to our Air Force contract. So the Air Force contract, you know, they're investing because they want to see the technology work. They're not buying airplanes from us yet, but that could be down the road. But that helped us get even more traction with the commercial airlines, and the commercial airlines, the more they're interested in it, the more excited they get. The more they see, the more excited they get. So those are, you know, but commercial airlines carry passengers. So there's a lot more intricate negotiation and a lot more, and then commercial airlines also have very professional fleet managers, and they have you know, their business is to move passengers all around the world safely. And so those are things that you know, that get into our relationship with them, and how we manage, and how we can negotiate with them, and how we can negotiate them for future commercial business. So it's been a very interesting time for the general counsel, but it's been a great learning experience as well.
So given this wide spectrum of potential uses, do you see any unique sort of legal issues that pop up because of the potential crossover into three very different operating environments for the aircraft, or for maybe the legal issues that would arise given those different operating environments?
Uh, I think the legal issues that arise are mostly linked to the operation of the airplane. So, a pure cargo airplane is less regulated than a commercial airplane. And then a military airplane has its own parameters of its operation, of its operational duty or its mission. Um, those are the areas that differentiate between the three uses. But for the most part, it's finding a way to fit the airplane into the use that's intended for it. So military has a different set of parameters for its mission. Cargo has a different set of parameters for its mission, and commercial airlines have different parameters for its mission. So probably the most complex is going to be the commercial airline use, because we're carrying people all over the world. And then, so we're prepared for that, and we're tackling it already.
Okay, so as you see JetZero growing over the next months, years, how do you see that the legal function will develop and grow within JetZero? Will it sort of mean, obviously there's different approaches. There's like fully integrated approaches where, the legal functions find themselves in various places as opposed to being consolidated in a legal group. Do you have any views on how you might want to take that forward within JetZero?
Yes, I mean, personally, I will. I see myself transitioning from a sort of reactive lawyer, so reacting to not I wouldn't call it the crisis du jour, but at least right now I am the center for all legal issues for JetZero. And as the company grows, things happen all along the way. So I need to react to what is happening at the company and support it in a reactive role. I see myself, and I've thought about this through my career. I see myself transitioning or changing the balance from reaction to proaction and strategy. And the way we're going to build the legal department is going to be to begin to bring people in-house that can continue to add value to a startup, but have a more focused practice. So, we're going to need somebody that's a really good point person for regulatory matters and compliance matters. We're going to need a person that's a really good focus area for finance or mergers and acquisitions. We're going to need a person that's a really good focus area for operations. So those right now we're getting excellent support from our outside firms, but I'm sort of the quarterback for all of that, and we'll start to bring in people that can do that, but at the same time continue to add value to the company. One of the biggest issues that in-house counsel has in any company around the world is that lawyers only show up on the P&L as a cost. So every lawyer, and there's nothing you can do about that. I mean, the book, it is what it is. So every lawyer that I bring on has to be able to show a value to the company that may or may not show up on the P&L, but everybody recognizes that it's a value.
That's a great view to have, and a great goal if you can achieve it within the company, to make sure that they understand that there is a value add there for those lawyers, that they're not just the folks who raise the obstacles and the roadblocks. Yeah. So what's the most fun part of your job?
The most fun part is every day I'm working on bringing a beautiful airplane into the market. I'm working in aviation. I've been an aviation geek my entire life, and Tom knew that when he called me. but when I go to California and I pull into our facility there, which is right on the grounds of the Long Beach Airport, um, I get to kind of be in the mix with all the engineers, with all the people that are working. I see our beautiful mock-up cabin. I see the things that are happening and being built, and I get to sit at an airport, so I get to look out the window and see see all the airplanes landing and taking off. Um, and that's really the funnest part, the most exciting part.
And what keeps you awake at night?
So what keeps me awake at night is that JetZero is is literally entering into one of the businesses with the highest barriers to entry in the world, and that's that's something that is a challenge every day. But I think also JetZero is a startup that's building a large vehicle, and it's going to take a lot of engineers and a lot of people supporting it inside JetZero. And every single person that joins the company needs to be on the same mission. And the mission is to put this big, beautiful airplane into the air. And and I think keeping the team together, and keeping everybody in the company focused on that mission is one of the things that Tom and Mark and everybody, and Dan, everybody in the leadership team is focused on every day.
Wow. Well, it sounds like quite a challenge, but also quite an exciting time to be not just general counsel, but just to be involved in a company like JetZero. So I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today and to give us your sort of insider views. And we look forward to following the story of JetZero as it continues on. So thank you very much, Rene.
Great, thank you, Louis. I really appreciate this call and I enjoyed it.